Señora Presidenta.
Madam Chairman, Madam Minister, in recent months, Chile had witnessed two disasters that had an impact on the national territory: an earthquake, 8.2 degrees Richter, and a fire in the city of Valparaiso, with a total of 22 dead and more than 3,500 homes destroyed. A situation that leads us to remember that we are all vulnerable and that it is indispensable to continue intervening in order to reduce vulnerability and improve our capacity of response with policies of coordination and management, both at the public and private level. It is clear that the states that are in the capacity of facing in an isolated manner the consequences of a large catastrophe require of the international help and solidarity. We, the Chileans, have witnessed that. A multilateral operational system is indispensable in order to optimize collective actions. And for this, as a country, we support the comprehensive and intersectorial coordination work that has been made by the International Strategy for Disaster Risk Reduction, led by Ms. Margareta Wallström. 4 years later, after living the dawn of February 27th of 2010 with the largest earthquake ever recorded, and which showed us a series of vulnerabilities of the national civil protection system, we would like to highlight the great progress that has been implemented in the country for disaster risk reduction, amongst which we must point out having an early warning tsunami system, which allows us to let the population know if there is a major event in less than 5 minutes. Besides, having also a system to send warning messages to cell phones. All of this supported by the creation of a National Seismology Center, the strengthening of the seismic monitoring network, and the Geographical and Oceanographic Service of the Navy, CHOA. Regarding strengthening Chile's regions, it is important to mention the decentralization process in the decision-making process for major emergencies, giving them the possibility to act in a more active manner. And for this, it is fundamental to carry out capacity building and training of the authorities and the population through a program called Chile Ready, which has mobilized more than 5 million people throughout our territory. Another fundamental aspect has been to generate and increase the trust of the citizens in the Emergency National Office, ONEMI. For this, we have carried out massive education campaigns for the population, telling them what to do before, during, and after an emergency, differentiating by type of threat. We have installed the signaling for tsunamis and volcanoes. We have built a new institutional building with the highest standards, amongst others. We cannot fail to mention the importance of the national platform for disaster risk reduction in Chile, which was created in the inaugural platform previous to the one that is being carried out right now in Guayaquil, and that was in Santiago in November of 2012. That platform is made up of more than 50 institutions that belong to the public, private sector, as well as academia and the organized civil society. And the mission is to coordinate and advise the members of the civil protection system so as to be able to incorporate disaster risk reduction in all of the sectors of the country, and which are today represented by our delegation. The joint work of the platform during 2013 managed to produce as its main product the basis for the national policy on the disaster risk reduction, which is a main input for the national policies, which has already been delivered to the authorities of the country, so that through a decree of the President Michelle Bachelet, signed on May 21st of this year, has announced the integrated support of the development plan for 2014-2018 for disaster risk reduction in the country. The policy and development plan are articulated based on 5 cross-sectional axes that correspond to the 5 priorities of the Hyogo Action Framework, giving Chile a guideline framework that allows us to integrate risk reduction to the general sectorial policies, and where we carry out prevention, response, and recovery after disasters within the Sustainable Development Framework by all of the institutions of the country that have to do with this issue, and especially integration and strengthening of local governments and their communities, setting as priorities those most vulnerable. To give continuity to this work in 2014 with the help of UNESCO and the United Nations Programme for Development Program, we are working on a national strategy for the reduction of disaster risk reduction based on specific indicators and included in our national policy. After this, we are contemplating generating a national plan for disaster risk management with its own sectorial plans. We are absolutely convinced that the 5 priorities of the Hyogo Framework of Action make up the fundamental pillars to follow in order to reduce adverse effects of disasters in our territory. Finally, looking towards the future, in the framework of action of Hyogo 2, to be discussed in Japan in 2015, we are convinced that these priorities must progress towards more concrete specific actions, especially regarding public policies validated by international organizations in charge of disaster risk reduction, for which we are willing to actively collaborate. Thank you.